guys, Marsinged here, bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we're going to be looking at another one of the World Tournament EZAs that just came out for Global. This is one that people had been very much anticipating. This guy was a fantastic free-to-play unit when he first got his TUR Awakening, and that is, of course, the STR High School Gohan. So we're going to go ahead and check him out here. He is a support unit with damage reduction, so realistically he's on the team to just support your characters and not die. So I've given him a decent amount of dodge. He's got 17. He's got the 5 crit he gets just from being an STR unit, and then he's got a little bit of additional as well, because his super attack effect, he greatly raises attack and raises defense for 1 turn. So it's a 50% attack raise and then 30% defense raise for 1 turn. So obviously if he gets an additional super, he gets the additional defense raise. He also has a medium chance to stun. So of course back in the day for things like Super Battle Road and stuff like that, stun chance is always very nice. So having an additional to get a potential second attack and then stun if you didn't stun with the first one can certainly be very useful. So he gets attack and defense 158%, an additional attack and defense 58% when performing a super. He has 58% damage reduction, and then he gives super class 3 key attack and defense 30%, and then an additional attack and defense 58% for himself when there is an extreme class enemy. Attacked enemies attack minus 20% for 2 turns when there is an extreme class enemy. So he can debuff extreme enemies, but extreme enemies only. So we're trying him out here on the Super Saiyans team with the LR Super Saiyans, because they are one of his 200% leads. He only has, I think, 2 on global, 2 actual 200% leads, which is the in LR Super Saiyans and then physical Ultimate Gohan. I'm not sure if he will be on, I always forget what his full leader skill is, but he might be on Beast Gohan's leader skill when he comes out. But the thing about this guy is he's a support unit that was very much requested for teams like Super Saiyans, right? Like Super Saiyans doesn't really have a lot of really good support units. We got the AGL Gohan World Tournament EZA last time, who certainly is quite decent. But yeah, this guy having damage reduction, having the support, it is only for super class allies. So one of the, you know, better builds I would say for the Super Saiyans team in general is running double tech Vegeta from Saiyan Day, right? Because as much as the in LR Super Saiyans are still a relatively decent unit, they can still hold their own in most of the content. You know, Kid Buu obviously is a bit of an anomaly because of how hard he can build up his damage to. But the problem with running the double Super Saiyans team is they are a slot 2 unit. So if you're running them as double leads, you've got both of them. You're either going to have them floating, which then they're not very good because they only carry over a lot of their buffs from their super attacks for 3 turns. So then they're not going to be particularly great on, like, if they're off rotation, they don't come back for 4 turns, they've lost those buffs. They're not really ever going to look particularly impressive. So of course, if you're running double LR Super Saiyans, you end up in a situation where they just want to be in slot 2 on both rotations. And so then your team is building is a little bit restricted, right? Because you can't bring other units that really want to shine in slot 2. And of course, when it comes to doing showcases on the 200% Super Saiyan team, unless you're showcasing a unit that is a slot 1 unit, like this Gohan, for example, really, he kind of wants to be in slot 2, right? We'll check out his, I should have actually looked at his start of turn defense. That last rotation definitely wasn't the best, right? Base Vegeta and then God Goku as his link partners. But even with the 58% damage reduction, his start of turn defense is not going to be high enough that you're going to want to put him in slot 1. Like I say, most of the time, if you're using this guy outside of what we're doing here with like a showcase setting where we want to keep him on rotation, see as many turns of him as we can, you're going to be using him as a 3rd slot floating unit. And he's perfectly fine, like he's perfectly designed for that. He doesn't have any build up, he doesn't have any carryover from his super attack effects. You don't lose anything from him floating, and he's just there to provide support. So on the Vegeta build of the team, that works a lot better because Vegeta obviously wants to go in slot 1. You have 2 of them. You can build the rest of your rotation out however you want and then have Gohan floating for support. The only downside for that, of course, is that this Gohan only supports super class allies, which means if you are running him on the Vegeta build of the team, then obviously he isn't supporting Vegeta at all. So, because yeah, let's see, with Vegeta himself, we only have... wait for all these active skill effects and stuff to go off. Yeah, Saiyan Lineage and Saiyan Warrior Race. And then with the LR Super Saiyans, we have Golden Warrior, Super Saiyan, and Saiyan Warrior Race. So if we're in the middle like this, we'd have 4. 189k defense. This is what I'm saying. 189, so he's got like 190k defense pre-super. Now, bear in mind, he gets 58% when performing a super attack. So he's going to be getting about 100k on super, puts him up to about 300, and then 30% from his super attack effect as well, which at this point is only going to be, what, about 60-ish? 60-ish. So he's going up to, after supering, after one super, he only has about 360k defense with 58% damage reduction. So, I mean, he'd be living some of the lower level, like, boss super attacks, like super attacks that do like 1,000,000 damage. He'll be tanking them reasonably well. But otherwise, he's not going to be particularly crazy defensively. In fact, we'll put him in slot 1 here just so we can actually get some attacks off with him, because otherwise, if we put Vegeta in slot, well, Vegeta was sealed actually. I was gonna say, if we put Vegeta in slot 1, Vegeta potentially would have just killed him, but there's the dodge. Like I say, he's only on the team to be a support unit and ideally not get you killed, so full dodge is definitely a good setup for him. How much are we going to eat from this? Yeah, see, 64k. This physical Butenk's not the hardest hitting unit in the world. And remember, we don't have guard or anything like that, so we are obviously having the advantage of having type advantage. And then, you know, we tank all the normals perfectly fine, which is what we would expect, right? With type advantage, damage reduction. 58% damage reduction is still a very decent amount, but it's kind of like the, you know, units like STR Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, who eventually start to age, because 80% damage reduction is great, but when you only have like 100k defense, it doesn't really matter all that much. He is a super EZA that I absolutely cannot wait for, though. I have a feeling that he is going to be very, very good. I think they would have to struggle to fumble his super EZA, because the bare minimum, they just make him a little bit better defensively in terms of having actual like start of turn defense stat, and then he's going to be back to tanking like basically everything in the game. That'd be like the bare minimum. Hopefully they give him a little bit more power in the attack department as well, because of course he's never been a unit that's been particularly strong attack wise, but that's obviously not the point of the unit. So I don't know how well you link up with you. We need to float off the LR Super Saiyans though, because like I say, with this particular build of the team, it's a bit weird for having these guys around and you. Plus God Goku, of course, we've talked about this in the past when the LR Super Saiyans came out in the first place, but having God Goku on their team can sometimes be a double-edged sword, because he can be a decent slot 1 unit for their team, but he's also an orb changer, and of course they can clash with their orb changing and end up changing the orbs that the other one needs. And of course, the priority, especially if you're using him as a slot 1 unit, the priority is always going to be to give God Goku 6 orbs. So if you end up with the orb changing in a situation where Goku's created orbs and then the Super Saiyans change all of those orbs to int, and the field is just covered in int orbs, then obviously God Goku gets his 6 orbs fairly easily, but then there's no int orbs left for the LR Super Saiyans, and then obviously they can look considerably worse if they're not getting those int orbs and getting all those extra attacks off. So it can still be a bit of a weird team build. But like I say, I wanted to showcase Gohan on this team because it is the actual full 200% lead. So that is something to bear in mind as well, is if we are going to run him on the Tech Vegeta version of the Super Saiyans team, not only is he not going to be supporting Tech Vegeta, but all of his numbers are going to be lower because he only gets the 170 lead from the double Vegetas. So I'm sure we'll use him at some point in the future on one of these events where we're trying out the Vegeta build of the team. But yeah, he's definitely a unit that his EZA, whilst I wouldn't say it's bad, it's not of the level of like Mr. Boo and stuff where like he gets his EZA and now all of a sudden it's like, right, he is like right back in the meta. We can jump into like the hardest events in the game and just throw him on the team and we don't have to worry about him. Now, when he got his TUR Awakening, that was basically the case, right? He was almost arguably one of the best free-to-play units in the game, and he only really started to show like that he'd aged out when the Red Zone came out, which, to be fair, like the Red Zone pretty much aged out like 90% of units in the game at that time, so can't really hold it against him too much that the Red Zone was where he started to fall off. But from when he got his TUR Awakening, pretty much until then, he was a very, very good unit, one of the better free-to-play units. Whereas now, I mean, we're getting a 4.4 million attack. It's with no extra support on the rotation other than his. He does lower attack, which obviously is useful against some of these bosses where that can be done. Only against Extreme, though, of course. So he won't be able to lower attack against Blue Gogeta from the Anniversary event. It means he would be able to lower attack against Kid Buu, but as we've been saying already, if he's only ending up at like 350k defense with 58% damage reduction, I mean, Kid Buu gets up to the point where he's doing over 1 million damage normals. And if we do the actual calculation, like 1 million damage minus 58% is 420. So with 350k defense, he would be taking about 70k, but that's without the Super versus Extreme like modifier as well. So even when Kid Buu's only hitting 1 million, he would still be taking almost 100k from his normals. And of course, fully built up, Kid Buu can hit a lot harder than that. So unfortunately, it's one of those things where this guy, whilst he is a cool unit and definitely, I would say he's definitely usable. Like if you're going into some of these events, like Kid Buu is an anomaly, right? Because we don't have any other events on Global, especially at the moment, that are hitting as hard as Kid Buu with their normals. So a lot of these other difficult events, you could take him on the team as a floating support unit, and as long as he's not eating a super attack, then he should be fine, right? So you're locked in the middle. I mean, we'll see how much damage he's going to take from this guy's super. I know this guy isn't like the hardest hitting unit either, but we'll transform Vegeta, so we at least get the extra like Super Saiyan links. So we've got 3 links active, 180k. We'll make this the final turn here for this Gohan. But yeah, 180k, we're still only looking at, like I say, around 350k defense after he supers. At least, you know, with type advantage, we take basically double-digit damage. And then, yeah, unfortunately, whilst he's not a unit that's on the team to do damage, his attack stat is really not very impressive either. So he's like a 3rd slot floating unit that you're essentially just hoping isn't going to eat a super. And then, you know, maybe he'd be okay. But bit of a shame. Obviously, he'll be good for like Battlefield and some of the easier like events that come out and things like that. Like fun to use on a Hybrid Saiyans or Goku family or, you know, Super Saiyans team where you are running a bunch of super class units. But for the hardest content in the game, he will struggle against the enemy's big super attacks. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section of the High School Gohan. Did you get your last copies of him from this World Tournament, or have you someone who's had him rainbowed and ready to go for a while? What team build have you been using him on, or where have you tried him out? Let me know all your thoughts down below in the comments. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.